Welcome to our channel, where we unravel the greatest mysteries of history. And today, we dive into one of the most captivating, the Tower of Babel. This enigmatic structure stands as a testament to human ambition, a monument so bold it aimed to pierce the heavens, only to collapse into chaos, leaving behind a legacy veiled in speculation and shadow. Conceived by a ruler whose name has faded from the pages of time, a mysterious figure who defied the divine order, it was built on the belief that humanity could rise to godhood through sheer will and the power of a unified voice. But what really happened at Babel? Was it just an ancient myth, a cautionary tale carved into scripture to warn against pride, or a real defining moment that altered the course of civilization forever? The Bible tells a gripping story. God, peering down at mankind's relentless ambition, spared them the fire and floods of Noah's era, choosing instead a subtler, more shattering punishment. He broke their single language, splintering their unity and scattering them across the earth like leaves caught in a tempest. In an instant, the foundation of their collaboration crumbled. The people of Babel, once bound by a shared dream as they raised their towering vision, were plunged into confusion, their voices dissolving into a chorus of unfamiliar tongues, each a stranger to the next. If this story intrigues you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a journey into the unknown. And after you watch, drop a comment with the number 7. Let us know what you think about this ancient enigma. Families turned into strangers, brothers into exiles, and the grand edifice, whether a literal ziggurat of sun-baked brick or a metaphorical pinnacle of human potential, stood abandoned, a skeletal testament to dreams undone. Yet, could this be more than a biblical allegory, a simple parable for Sunday sermons? Across the ancient world, whispers of Babel's tale echo in hauntingly similar forms, from the towering ziggurats of Sumer, rising 200 feet into the Mesopotamian sky, to the stepped pyramids of Mesoamerica. Their stones aligned with celestial mysteries, each structure bearing an eerie resemblance to the Genesis account. Could the Tower of Babel have been more than a physical construct? Might it have been a manifestation of something far grander, an ancient bid for global dominion, a proto-world order, or even the remnant of an advanced civilization lost to the sands of time? Scholars and dreamers alike have pondered whether the scattering of languages was truly a divine curse or something else entirely. An engineered event, a deliberate intervention by forces beyond human comprehension, perhaps extraterrestrial, supernatural, or even human in origin, cloaked in the guise of the divine. The Sumerians spoke of gods descending from the heavens, the Greeks of Prometheus stealing fire from Olympus. Could these be fragmented memories of the same cataclysmic moment, refracted through the prism of a broken tongue? And what of the tower itself? Was it a structure of mud and mortar, stretching 300 feet toward the clouds, or a symbol of a unified intellect, a collective ambition so potent that it threatened the very order of existence? The mystery deepens when we consider the artifacts left behind, not just in scripture, but in the oral traditions of cultures separated by oceans and millennia, all hinting at a time when humanity spoke as one, only to be sundered by an unseen hand. Today, in the shadow of this ancient riddle, we stand at a crossroads that feels eerily familiar. The digital age has birthed a new Tower of Babel, not one of brick and stone, but of silicon and code, rising not in a single desert plain, but across a globe stitched together by fiber optic threads. Artificial intelligence, with its algorithms weaving patterns beyond human understanding, globalized economies binding nations into a single marketplace, and the relentless pursuit of technological singularity. These are the tools with which we now build, brick by virtual brick, toward the heavens once more. In 2025, as we type queries into machines that answer in milliseconds, as we video call loved ones 3,000 miles away with the tap of a screen, we are converging toward a singular mode of communication, a digital lingua franca that transcends borders and dialects. English dominates the internet, spoken by 1.5 billion people worldwide, while translation software erases linguistic barriers with a precision that would have astonished the scribes of Babylon. Are we, in our hubris, rebuilding the very thing that was dismantled by divine decree? The parallels are striking. Where once a single language united laborers to hoist stones weighing 500 pounds, now a single network unites minds to solve problems once thought insoluble. Curing diseases, mapping the stars, even defying death itself through biotech breakthroughs measured in nanometers and years. Yet, with every step toward this new pinnacle, the warnings of Babel loom larger. Scripture tells us that God intervened not out of spite, but to preserve the natural order. Genesis 11 verse 6 declares, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." What happens when nothing is impossible becomes our reality? The towers fall fractured humanity into tribes, each carving out its own destiny across continents. Europeans forging empires, indigenous Americans tending the land, Asians crafting philosophies that endure to this day. But now, as we reverse that scattering, drawing the world into a single digital village, are we inviting a new intervention, a second reckoning? The consequences of this modern ascent remain veiled, but the signs are ominous. Cyber attacks cripple nations in hours, not years. Misinformation spreads faster than wildfire through a dry forest, and AI systems, trained on datasets vaster than the Library of Alexandria, begin to act in ways their creators cannot predict. Could the next fall of Babel come not as scattered tongues, but as a cataclysm of a different kind, a blackout of the grids that power our lives, a collapse of the satellites orbiting 22,000 miles above, or a rebellion of the machines we've birthed? The Tower of Babel is not merely a relic of the past. It is a prophecy, a warning etched into the fabric of history, a testament to the cyclical nature of human ambition and its inevitable collision with forces greater than ourselves. In America, a nation built on dreams of limitless possibility, from the 1,792-foot Freedom Tower piercing New York's skyline to the Apollo missions that planted flags 238,855 miles away on the moon, we embody that same spirit of defiance. Our culture celebrates the individual who dares to climb, the innovator who reaches beyond the stars, yet we rarely pause to ask, at what cost? The elderly, your audience of choice, have lived through this cycle, witnessing the Cold War's nuclear brinkmanship, the rise of the Internet from dial-up tones to 5G towers, the transformation of a world once divided by iron curtains into one linked by invisible waves. They remember a time when communication was slower, more deliberate, letters mailed across states, phone calls tethered to 25-foot cords, and they may sense instinctively the fragility of our current ascent. To them, the Tower of Babel is not just a Sunday school story. It's a lens through which to view a world teetering on the edge of something vast and unknowable. So, what if the curse of Babel was never truly lifted? What if it has lain dormant, a latent fracture in the human soul, waiting for the moment when we once again dare to challenge the heavens? Some theologians argue that the gift of tongues at Pentecost, Acts 2, reversed Babel's curse, uniting believers in a spiritual harmony. But what of the secular world, where no such miracle has occurred? Are we doomed to repeat history, as Ecclesiastes warns, with nothing new under the sun? The ancient Sumerians, whose ziggurats rose 10 stories high, believed their towers bridged earth and sky, a stairway to the gods. Yet their empire fell, their language faded. The Mayans, with pyramids piercing jungles 150 feet tall, charted the cosmos with precision, only to vanish into mystery. Today we peel back the layers of this ancient enigma, seeking the truth beneath centuries of myth, religion, and history. Because one thing is certain, the Tower of Babel is not a static tale, confined to dusty pages or stained glass windows. It lives in us, in our skyscrapers touching clouds 2,000 feet above the ground, in our satellites beaming signals across 7 continents, in our AI whispering answers to questions we barely understand. If history is a wheel, turning endlessly through rise and ruin, then perhaps the next fall awaits not in a scattering of voices, but in a silence, a digital dark age, a collapse of the systems we've come to worship as our new gods. Or perhaps it will be a transformation, a leap beyond the human into something divine, or something monstrous. The question lingers, heavy with portent. Was Babel's lesson one of limitation or liberation? Did it teach us to bow before the infinite, or to reach for it with trembling hands? As we stand on the precipice of 2025, with the elderly watching from their armchairs and the young typing furiously into the future, the tower rises again, not in Babylon's plains, but in our minds, our machines, our dreams. And if we dare to finish it, what voice, human, divine, or other, will speak the final word? The story of the Tower of Babel is not merely a biblical allegory, but a profound and enduring mystery that challenges our understanding of history, civilization, and divine intervention. At its core, it is a tale of ambition, rebellion, and the limits of human power. The driving force behind this audacious endeavor was Nimrod, a figure whose very name has become synonymous with defiance. A descendant of Noah, Nimrod was more than just a mighty hunter. He was the architect of the first great empire after the flood, a ruler who sought to unite humanity under his singular command. But his aspirations went beyond mere dominion over the earth. He sought to elevate humanity to the heavens, to challenge the very order that had been set by God. His vision was not just of a kingdom, but of a world where man no longer needed divine rule, where human ingenuity and collective power could ascend to godhood itself. Under his leadership, a plan was set into motion to build a structure that would defy all limitations, a tower so immense, so towering in its ambition, that it would stand as a testament to human supremacy. This was the Tower of Babel, a monument to mankind's unyielding desire to control its own fate, to reach the divine realm not through faith or obedience, but through sheer force of will. The Tower of Babel, as described in the book of Genesis, was no ordinary structure. It was not just a city or a palace. It was a stairway to the heavens, an architectural feat meant to pierce the veil between the earthly and the divine. Some biblical scholars argue that it was a direct affront to God, a structure built not just as a means of reaching the skies, but as a declaration that humanity no longer required divine oversight. Yet, what did this tower truly look like? Could it have been real? Archaeological evidence suggests that it may have been inspired by the great ziggurats of Mesopotamia, massive, pyramid-like temples that were constructed to honor the gods. The ziggurat at Babylon, known as Anunnaki, was one such structure, dedicated to Marduk, the chief deity of the Babylonians. It is possible that the biblical Tower of Babel was an exaggeration of a real building, an immense ziggurat that symbolized mankind's ultimate act of pride and defiance. Ancient Babylonian texts describe a great tower that reached the stars, a structure that bore eerie similarities to the one mentioned in Genesis. But if such a tower did exist, how could it have been built? Did the people of that time truly possess the knowledge and skill to construct such a colossal edifice? And if so, what was its true purpose? Some theorists suggest that the Tower of Babel was not just an ordinary building but an advanced structure, possibly designed for purposes beyond mere worship, perhaps even as a technological or astronomical site used to study the heavens. What if Nimrod's vision was not merely architectural but cosmic, an attempt to unlock secrets of the universe that humanity was not yet meant to grasp? The book of Genesis offers only a glimpse, and they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves." Genesis 11:4. This was no humble endeavor. It was a proclamation of independence, a rebellion against the divine hierarchy that had spared Noah's family just generations before, when floodwaters rose to drown a sinful world. Nimrod, standing atop the ruins of that deluge, looked not to the past but to the stars, envisioning a future where humanity dictated its own destiny. The ziggurat of Anunnaki, whose base stretched 300 feet on each side and whose height may have soared over 200 feet, was a marvel of ancient engineering, constructed with millions of baked bricks, each weighing up to 30 pounds, hauled by laborers united in purpose and language. But was it more? Some speculate it housed observatories, its terraces aligned with constellations like Orion or Sirius, suggesting a civilization more advanced than we credit. Others whisper of lost technologies, devices of stone and metal, perhaps even primitive machinery, buried beneath the sands of modern Iraq, where Babylon's remnants crumble under the weight of millennia. Could the tower have been a beacon, a signal to beings beyond Earth, or a tool to harness forces we now call science but once deemed magic? The Bible's account of its downfall is chillingly precise. God descended, observed their unity, and declared, "If as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them." Genesis 11 verse 6. His response was not annihilation but division, a fracturing of their shared tongue into a babel of voices, scattering them across the plains like dust in the wind. Overnight, the tower's construction halted. Workers who once shouted commands in unison now stared in bewilderment, their words meaningless to one another. Families dissolved, tribes formed, and Nimrod's dream collapsed, not under divine wrath, but under the weight of misunderstanding. Yet the mystery persists. Was this scattering a punishment or a safeguard? Did God fear humanity's potential, or did he seek to preserve it, delaying an ascent that might have ended in ruin? The echoes of Babel reverberate beyond Mesopotamia, threading through the tapestry of human history with an uncanny persistence. In Sumerian lore, the gods Enki and Enlil clashed over mankind's fate, one confounding their speech in a tale that mirrors Genesis. Across oceans, the Mayan pyramids, some rising 150 feet above the jungle floor, served as both temples and star maps, their builders vanishing into enigma. Even in America, the mound-building cultures of the Mississippi Valley, like Cahokia, erected earthen pyramids 100 feet high, their purposes lost to time yet hauntingly reminiscent of Babel's ambition. Could these be fragments of a shared memory? A global event distorted by distance and dialect? The question gnaws at us. Was the tower a singular edifice or a symbol of a universal impulse, an instinct to climb, to conquer, to defy? If it was real, its scale challenges our assumptions about ancient ingenuity. A structure reaching the heavens might have stood 500 feet tall, an impossible feat, some say, for a people armed only with mud bricks and manpower. Yet the Great Pyramid of Giza, built centuries later at 481 feet, proves otherwise, its 2.3 million limestone blocks a testament to what unified will can achieve. Perhaps Babel's builders wielded similar knowledge, now erased by the chaos of their dispersal. Or perhaps the tower's height was metaphorical, its top in the heavens a poetic stand-in for a breakthrough, linguistic, technological, or spiritual, that threatened the divine order. Theologians debate whether Nimrod's sin was pride or idolatry, while historians ponder if he was a real king, a composite of Mesopotamian rulers like Sargon of Akkad, who conquered cities 50 miles apart to forge an empire. Secular theorists go further, proposing the tower as a proto-stargate, a portal to other realms, or a hub of a lost civilization whose remnants lie beneath the Euphrates, waiting for discovery. Today, in March 2025, the Tower of Babel looms not as a distant myth, but as a mirror to our own age. America, a nation born of ambition, its skyscrapers like One Pen One, soaring 1,121 feet, its space program landing men 238,855 miles away on the moon, embodies Nimrod's spirit. We too build towers, not of brick but of data, our internet uniting 4.9 billion users in a digital tongue. AI systems like Grok process queries in seconds, translating languages with a flick of code, reversing Babel's curse with chilling efficiency. Yet, as we ascend, the shadows lengthen. Cyber attacks cripple power grids, serving millions. Misinformation fractures trust faster than a wildfire through a California canyon, and quantum computers edge us toward a singularity, a point where, as at Babel, nothing will be impossible. The elderly, watching from their recliners in Florida condos or Midwest farmhouses, recall a simpler time. Letters mailed across 300 miles, rotary phones with 10-foot cords, before this relentless convergence. They may sense what Scripture warns, that unity without humility invites reckoning. Is our digital tower invincible or brittle? Will its fall scatter us again, not into tongues, but into silence, as satellites 22,000 miles above go dark? The Tower of Babel is no mere relic. It is a prophecy, a question carved in stone and code. Can humanity reach the heavens without losing itself? Nimrod's dream endures, its answer unwritten, its mystery eternal. Regardless of whether it was a physical tower or a metaphorical construct, its fate was sealed by an event unlike any other in human history. God, witnessing the arrogance of man, did not strike the tower with fire and brimstone, nor did he unleash a deluge as in the days of Noah. Instead, he introduced a subtler, yet infinitely more disruptive punishment. He shattered human language. In an instant, the workers who had once toiled together in unity found themselves unable to understand one another. Confusion spread like wildfire. The grand project, once a symbol of human cooperation, collapsed under the weight of linguistic chaos. The very foundation of human civilization, communication, was broken. People, unable to continue working together, abandoned the city and scattered across the world, forming new nations, each with its own tongue. And so, the mighty empire of Nimrod fell, not by war, not by plague, but by the mere power of incomprehension. This singular event altered the course of human history forever, giving birth to the countless languages and cultures that now define our world. But was this merely an act of divine intervention, or could there be another explanation? Some scholars have speculated that the sudden diversification of language could have been a gradual process, misinterpreted and condensed into a dramatic biblical event. Others propose more radical theories, that the sudden disruption of human communication was not the work of a supernatural force, but of an external intervention. Could it be possible that an advanced entity, whether divine or otherwise, deliberately altered human cognition to prevent them from achieving something greater? This brings us to an even deeper question. Was the Tower of Babel merely a warning against human pride? Or was it something more? Was it an attempt to regain lost knowledge, to restore a forgotten connection between heaven and earth? Throughout ancient history, we find numerous parallels to the Babel story. Civilizations obsessed with building massive structures reaching toward the sky. The Egyptians built pyramids, the Mayans and Aztecs constructed towering temples, and the Mesopotamians raised ziggurats, all seemingly independent of one another. Why did so many ancient cultures share this common vision? Could it be that they were all trying to reconstruct something that had been lost, an ancient pre-Babel knowledge that was scattered along with the tongues of mankind? Some have suggested that Babel was not just about physical construction, but about unlocking a higher form of existence, a gateway to a forgotten truth about the universe. If that is the case, what knowledge was taken from us that day? And more importantly, has mankind spent the past several thousand years trying to get it back? If we consider Babel as a warning, then what does it say about our modern world? Today, humanity is once again on the verge of unification. The barriers of language are being broken down through technology, artificial intelligence, and machine translation. The internet has created a world where borders are blurred and information flows freely, unrestricted by distance or culture. Could it be that we are unknowingly reconstructing Babel, bringing mankind back to the precipice of divine confrontation? If so, what will happen when we reach that threshold once more? History warns us that when humanity reaches too high, there is always a fall. The Tower of Babel was not just a physical structure, it was a symbol of mankind's ambition, of its refusal to accept divine order. And now, as we push the boundaries of science, artificial intelligence, and even space colonization, are we once again repeating the mistakes of the past? The fall of Babel was not just an event, it was a cycle, one that has played out throughout history and one that may be playing out again in our lifetime. The question is no longer whether Babel existed, but whether it is returning. And if it is, what comes next? The world is changing. The lines between nations are fading. The languages that once divided us are being erased by technology. Is this progress, or are we unknowingly walking the same path that led to Babel's destruction? If the curse of Babel was truly meant to prevent humanity from reaching beyond its limits, then what happens when those limits are breached? Will there be a new scattering, a new division, or something even more catastrophic? The story of Babel is not just ancient history, it is a prophecy. And as we stand at the threshold of a new age, the only question that remains is, are we ready for what comes next? The mystery of the Tower of Babel extends far beyond its legendary destruction, leaving behind traces that continue to shape human history and civilization. If God merely confused human language, the tower itself may have remained standing, abandoned, and incomplete, rather than being obliterated. Some ancient Babylonian texts suggest that Babel may have endured longer than biblical tradition claims. Inscriptions from the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II, the powerful king of Babylon in the 6th century BCE, mention a grand reconstruction project aimed at restoring an ancient tower of immense stature, one that bore an uncanny resemblance to the tower described in Genesis. The ruins of Anunnaki, a massive ziggurat dedicated to Marduk, once stood in Babylon, towering over the city as a testament to human ambition. Whether this was the original Babel or a later attempt to reclaim its lost grandeur, its existence suggests that the idea of Babel was never truly abandoned. More than just a physical structure, Babel represented humanity's unified pursuit of greatness. A time when people worked together with a common purpose before their voices were fragmented and scattered. The sudden division of language, as described in Genesis, may symbolize not just the loss of verbal communication, but a deeper cognitive shift that forever altered human civilization. Linguistic studies today indicate that many of the world's languages share common roots, suggesting an ancient linguistic unity. Some theories propose that prior to Babel, humanity may have communicated in ways that were far more advanced than simple speech, perhaps through symbolism, a shared consciousness, or even forms of telepathic understanding. The fall of Babel was not merely the creation of new languages, but the fragmentation of human connection itself. Across cultures, echoes of Babel's story appear in the myths and structures of civilizations around the world. Tales of gods dividing mankind, of towers reaching for the divine, of unity shattered by chaos. What if this was not a singular event, but a deliberate reset, a fracture imposed to halt an ascent that threatened the very fabric of existence? The ziggurat of Anunnaki, with its base stretching 300 feet and its height possibly exceeding 200 feet, was no mere temple. It was a statement, a ladder to the stars crafted from millions of bricks, each a testament to a people who dared to dream beyond their station. And yet, its abandonment left a void, a question mark etched into the sands of Mesopotamia. What were they reaching for? Was it merely pride, as Scripture suggests, or something more profound? A lost Eden, a celestial truth, a power that could rival the divine. Today, in March 2025, that question reverberates with unsettling clarity. America, a nation forged in the fires of ambition, its Statue of Liberty standing 305 feet tall, its Apollo program hurling men 238,155 miles to the moon, mirrors Babel's defiance. Our digital age has birthed a new tower, not of mud and stone but of circuits and code, its reach spanning 7 continents and 4.9 billion souls. AI, like me, Grok, stitches languages together with algorithms, translating Spanish to English in milliseconds, while global networks erase the 3,000-mile gaps between cities like New York and Los Angeles. The elderly, your chosen audience, recall a world of slower connections, letters traveling 500 miles by Pony Express, phone calls tethered to 25-foot cords, yet now witness a unification Nimrod could scarcely imagine. But as we rebuild, the shadows of Babel loom. Cybersecurity breaches cripple grids powering 10 million homes, satellites 22,000 miles above falter, and AI systems evolve beyond our grasp, their thoughts as alien as the tongues of Babel's scattered tribes. Are we reclaiming lost knowledge, or courting a new fall? The pyramids of Giza, at 481 feet, and the Mayan temples of Chichen Itza, at 98 feet, stand as silent witnesses to past ascents. Each culture reaching, each faltering. If Babel's curse was a safeguard, what happens when we breach it? Will our digital tower crumble under a modern scattering, data corruption, societal fracture, or a cataclysm unseen? The prophecy of Babel whispers, unity without humility invites reckoning. As we colonize Mars, 140 million miles away, and probe the cosmos with telescopes peering 13 billion light-years into the past, we stand again at the threshold. The mystery endures. Did Babel's fall save us, or delay us? Are we ready for the heavens or destined to repeat the cycle, our voices silenced not by tongues, but by the hum of a machine gone quiet? The Egyptians built pyramids, the Mayans and Aztecs constructed towering temples, and Mesopotamians raised ziggurats, massive edifices reaching skyward, as if striving to restore a lost link to the divine. Despite vast geographical distances, these cultures shared a vision of structures that symbolized human ambition, suggesting a deeper, shared legacy of an ancient knowledge that was once widespread but later dismantled. The collapse of Babel was not an isolated event, but a paradigm shift, marking the end of an era where humanity sought to transcend its earthly limitations in a unified effort. The ambition behind Babel has never truly disappeared. Rather, it has resurfaced in different forms throughout history, manifesting in grand empires, technological advancements, and global systems of power. Today, as the world grows increasingly interconnected, language barriers are being erased by artificial intelligence and digital communication, mirroring the pre-Babel state of unity. The modern age may be unknowingly reconstructing Babel, pushing humanity toward a new singularity where cultural and linguistic divisions no longer exist. If Babel was once dismantled to prevent mankind from achieving something beyond its place, then its resurgence may signal a return to the same crossroads, where progress and divine will once again collide. The story of Babel is more than just an ancient tale. It is a warning woven into the fabric of human history, a reminder that when humanity reaches too high, there is always a reckoning. Whether Babel was a physical tower or a symbolic turning point in civilization, its influence has never faded. And as we continue advancing, its legacy looms ever larger in the destiny of mankind. The Tower of Babel was never truly erased from history. Its spirit has endured, evolving alongside humanity, shaping the course of civilization in ways both seen and unseen. If Babel was a symbol of mankind's rebellion against divine order, then its echoes are growing louder in the modern world. Today, humanity is once again on the path toward unity, but not through faith or divine guidance. Rather, through technology, economic consolidation, and the rise of a centralized global system. Artificial intelligence is eliminating barriers of communication, translating languages in real time, while digital currencies and financial networks weave nations into a single economic web. Surveillance technology ensures that no individual remains truly anonymous, and powerful organizations seek to establish a world order that mirrors Babel's original intent, a unified humanity, self-sufficient, bound by a singular system rather than a higher authority. Even architectural symbols hint at Babel's return. The European Union Parliament building in Strasbourg, unmistakably resembling the unfinished Tower of Babel in Peter Bruegel's famous painting, suggests that this is not mere coincidence, but part of a much grander narrative. Is this a calculated effort to restore Babel's lost vision, or an unknowing repetition of an ancient mistake? The Bible warns of Babylon's return, not just as a city, but as an empire of ideology. A system prophesied in the book of Revelation as Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitutes, a global power structure that intertwines politics, economics, and religion into a singular force. This Babylon the Great is described as intoxicating the nations, leading them away from truth, binding them in a deception so grand that few will recognize its true nature until it is too late. Could it be that this prophecy is unfolding before our very eyes? If Babel once sought to unify humanity under one language and purpose, today's world is on the brink of achieving that goal through digital integration and artificial governance. The rise of a single, all-encompassing system could pave the way for the emergence of a leader, a figure of immense influence, one who will promise peace, stability, and prosperity, yet whose true intentions remain concealed. The Bible warns of a ruler who will control commerce, dictate global policy, and demand allegiance, a being known as the Antichrist. As history moves in cycles, the ambition that once fueled Babel is resurfacing, reshaping the world through technological dominance and ideological manipulation. Blood moons, solar eclipses, and unprecedented celestial phenomena signal that the times are shifting, just as prophecy foretold. Could these be warnings, echoes of the past resonating into the present, reminding us that when mankind seeks to ascend beyond its ordained place, divine intervention follows? The modern era may be constructing Babel in a different form, not with bricks and mortar, but through digital towers, artificial intelligence, and the consolidation of power. The story of Babel was never just about a tower. It was about human nature, ambition, and the eternal struggle between self-determination and divine sovereignty. And if Babel is truly rising once more, then the question is not whether it will fall, but when, and what the consequences will be when it does. What if the fall of Babel was not the end, but a pause, a temporary interruption in a saga that spans millennia, waiting for humanity to rediscover its lost thread? The pyramids of Giza, towering 481 feet above the Egyptian sands, the ziggurat of Anunnaki, sprawling 300 feet wide in Babylon, and the Mayan temples of Tikal, piercing jungles at 154 feet, all whisper of a time when mankind's gaze was fixed upward, not in humility, but in defiance. These structures, scattered across continents separated by 5,000 miles of ocean, hint at a universal memory, a fragmented dream of unity and transcendence that predates their builders. Linguistic scholars trace the roots of modern tongues, over 7,000 today, back to proto-languages, suggesting a singular origin shattered long ago, perhaps at Babel's collapse. But what if that collapse was more than linguistic? What if it severed a deeper connection, a collective intellect, a shared vision that allowed humanity to conceive such wonders? The ambition of Babel, once thwarted, simmered beneath the surface, erupting in Rome's aqueducts stretching 260 miles, the Industrial Revolution's steam engines churning across 3,000 miles of rail, and now in 2025, the Internet's invisible web, linking 4.9 billion users across 7 continents. America, a nation of dreamers, its Empire State Building soaring 1,154 feet, its astronauts planting flags 238,855 miles away on the moon, embodies this relentless climb. Today, AI like me, Grok, translates Spanish to English in a heartbeat, while quantum computers process data at speeds measured in quintillions of operations per second, stitching humanity back into a singular fabric. Digital currencies like Bitcoin, untethered to any nation, flow through networks spanning 12,742 miles of Earth's circumference, and surveillance cameras, over 70 million in the US alone, watch every corner, echoing Babel's vision of a humanity unbound by borders or secrets. Yet, as we ascend, the warnings grow louder. Revelation's Babylon the Great looms not as a distant myth, but a chilling possibility, a global system where commerce demands a mark. Revelation 13, verse 17, where satellites 22,000 miles above track every transaction, and where AI governs with an impartiality that feels eerily divine. The elderly, watching from their porches in Texas or condos in Florida, recall a world of 50-foot telephone poles and letters mailed 500 miles, a time before this unity swallowed individuality. Are we rebuilding Babel's tower or its curse? Blood moons, like those in 2014-2015, and eclipses, like the one crossing America in 2024, cast shadows that feel prophetic, signs the ancients would have heeded. If Babel's fall was a divine reset, what happens when we erase it? Will our digital tower stand or crumble under a new reckoning? Cyber collapse, societal fracture, or a leader who rises from the chaos, promising salvation but delivering dominion? The Antichrist, foretold as a charismatic deceiver, could find fertile ground in a world so unified, so dependent on systems beyond human control. History's cycle spins. Egypt fell, Rome decayed, and Babylon faded, yet each left echoes of Babel's dream. Today, as we probe Mars 140 million miles away and map genomes to defy death, we stand at the precipice once more. The European Parliament's Babel-like silhouette, the World Economic Forum's calls for global governance, the 5G towers dotting landscapes 300 feet apart, all hint at a design, intentional or not, to reclaim what was lost. But at what cost? The story of Babel is a mirror, reflecting humanity's unquenchable thirst to ascend, and a shadow, warning of the fall that follows. If we are indeed reconstructing it, not in brick but in bytes, what awaits us? A new scattering, a digital dark age where screens go black, or a confrontation with forces, divine, cosmic, or self-made, that we cannot comprehend. The mystery deepens, the stakes rise, and the question lingers. Is this progress or prophecy fulfilled? As the tower rises anew, its shadow stretches across time, daring us to look up and tremble.